Every DM prepares for D&D differently. You have the no prep gang who just wing it on the night, and you have the 5-hour prep gang who spend more time planning D&D than actually playing it.
No, Simon's not free Thursday. No, Tony can't do Saturday. No, I can't do Monday, we know this.
And then you have me, who gets live stream chat to prep my games for me. But there is an official guide in the Dungeon Master's Guide on how to prepare your games in D&D. So I decided to prep my next session the way it wants me to. And it's only going to take me 3 hours. So the clock up here is counting down to my actual session. So we don't have much time here. Hopefully I don't get easily distracted by anything.
When I was in Japan, smoking is so common.
That's fine though, because we are off. Cue the incredibly intricate, impressive graphics. So the way prepping in the DMG works is that if you have 1 hour of prep time, there are 5 steps you need to complete. After those 5 steps, you are ready to DM. But if you have an extra hour, bringing your total prep time to 2 hours, there are 2 more steps for you to complete, bringing the 2-hour prep session to a total of 7 steps. But if you have a 3rd hour, you can do 2 more steps, bringing a 3-hour prep session to a total of 9 steps. So let's start with the first 5 steps that I'm going to do in 1 hour. The first step is step 1, and I'm paraphrasing here because I'm scared reading this book word for word will get me into trouble. But it pretty much says, think about the story.
Last session, the characters...
Let's call this step the visualize step. For me, this meant remembering what happened in my last session and coming up with locations and NPCs and encounters that could happen in this session, and information that I want the players to receive by the end of the session, as well as like any other story beats I want to hit. It's just kind of getting an idea of everything that could and probably will happen. Which brings us to step 2. Turn all that into a list of encounters and mark them either definite, possible, or unlikely, depending how likely they are to happen in this session.
Definite, possible, and possible.
Let's call step 2 list. So this is taking the things that you visualized earlier, listing them and getting specific. Make a list of big NPC interactions that you think could happen. Make a list of any puzzles or any exploration encounters, and of course, combat encounters. It's fundamentally a list of set pieces where the players would kind of be expected to roll or hit some kind of conflict. Step 3, look at the encounters you marked as definite, the things that are definitely going to happen in this session, and then prep any materials you will need for these encounters. Let's call this step plan definites. We're talking maps, monster stat blocks, encounter builders. Think about NPCs, what they look like, what they sound like, what their backstories are, and think of puzzles and environments in more detail. Flesh them all out in your mind or on paper so that you are comfortable describing, role-playing, and running these on the night. Step 4, think about your players' characters. Let's call this somebody please think of the characters. This is often an underrated step, and I'm really happy they have it in the DMG. It's saying that you should look back on that list of encounters you've made, all the planning you've done so far, then tie in your players' characters, wants, or backstories, or things that they would enjoy. For example, in this session, I have a player who loves making potions. So in the game, I set up a convention called Potion Con. I also have a player who likes stealing things, who will definitely try and steal a potion from said Potion Con. So I set up a fun, challenging security system for them to play around with. This step makes all the difference for your players, and honestly just shows them that you're thinking of them. Step 5. Skim possibles. Here it just wants you to kind of look over your possible encounters, get yourself up to speed with them a little bit before the time runs out, like that. As far as an hour of prepping goes, this is solid. You can run a game with this. And you may be asking, well, how many encounters should I plan for exactly? Well, the DMG has you covered there too. It has what is called a 1-hour guideline. And it says that a D&D game usually starts with everyone chatting and winding down, mostly talking about work, pets, and kids. That's me saying that, not the book. But once things settle down, the DMG says that a normal average D&D party can do 3 things in 1 hour. One of those things can be something like exploring a location, like a cave, castle, or chamber. Talk to an NPC, solve a tricky riddle or puzzle, survive a deadly trap, or run a low-stakes, easy combat encounter. It's fundamentally saying that on average, one planned encounter will last about 20 minutes. Now, the DMG uses kind of a lot of wishy-washy language, and it kind of has to because every table is different, every DM is different, People play for longer, people play for shorter amounts of times, as well as a more experienced table might do things faster than a new table. So saying a blanket it takes 20 minutes to run an encounter is crazy. The truth is that you kind of need to figure out your table and the way you DM and the way your players play. And from there you can figure out how many encounters on average you would run an hour, or how many encounters in total you would run in a full session, so that you know how many you need to prep. But the 3 things in 1 hour I think is a good place to start. Now it does say in the DMG that if an encounter is more challenging, like a harder combat or a particularly challenging to open door, you may need to double or even triple the amount of time it will take, so bear that in mind.
Also, before we move on to how the DMG wants you to prep if you have 2 or even 3 hours before your game, let's talk about a secret weapon. And I'm going to tell you about it while using it to prep this session. It's the sponsor of this video, Describe. So let's create an NPC. I can go to Scenes and Characters. Let's choose Cult Fanatic. I get a detailed description that I can straight up use, and I get a guide for incorporating it into my game. And I can get descriptions like this for items, monsters, locations. I also get access to amazing maps that I can use in my games, and audio, from ambient sounds to actual music. It genuinely feels like cheating. Thank you, Describe, for sponsoring this video.
So we've prepped for 1 hour, but what's that? I have another hour? Making this a 2-hour prep session. Well, the DMG gives us 2 more steps. Step 6. Carefully review each possible encounter, which I did. I built them all out with more detail, prepped stat blocks, and got into a place where I was happy to run them. And then step 7. Use the remaining time to create improvisational aids. I created a whole random rollable table of potion effects. Since at this potion con place, someone was giving out free samples of potions that did a random thing to the player characters. Chat helps me out with this, thank you chat, and the players genuinely loved it. My favourite effect on the list, which I didn't get to see unfortunately, was the one that gives the drinker incredibly slimy and slippy skin. I've thrown this random potions table up on my Patreon already for free.
No, Gareth, it really is free. It is. You know what, Gareth? Fine, I guess it's not free. You win. You do need an email address. You are pedantic, and thank you for your engagement on the post.
I also used this second hour of prep to just skim over everything I had so far and think about all the random things and wild stuff my players could do. Obviously, they're unpredictable and they are always going to throw curveballs at you, but I find just spending some time and thinking about it and trying to predict them really does help improvising in the moment. I also finished both step 6 and 7 a lot earlier than I probably needed to. And I should also say, throughout this prepping session, I've kind of been laid back and chatting to chat and getting distracted.
I got Jahira and Halson unpainted. I don't paint minis really, so this might be an excuse for me to get into painting.
But I mean, that would probably happen if you were prepping a D&D session yourself for 2 hours. You're probably not going to be sat there doing non-stop work for the whole 2 hours. But I'd say that I could do everything I've done so far in less than an hour if I really put my mind to it. But I'm a more experienced DM who likes improvising. For people who don't like improvising, or people who are new to the hobby, or people who like prepping, maybe 2 hours here is better for you. I've also not been planning anything too complex for this session, so I've been keeping things simple, hence a breezier prep time. Still, after a short rest at the end, I was pretty much ready to run my session. But oh look, I have 1 more hour, making this a 3-hour prep session. Well, the DMG adds 2 more steps. Step 8, skim each unlikely encounter. So in the DMG, the 3rd hour is really about dotting the T's and crossing the I's. Yes, I did that on purpose. It's about planning for encounters that you really don't think are ever going to happen. And I think it's really just for people who don't like improvising at all. But that's what I did. In this last hour, I created a whole tavern with a new NPC and a full drinking game.
Yeah, a wizard is good. Yeah. NPC is the wizard Nigel.
This was mostly here so that if the players failed to get information or to do something I really wanted them to do in the other locations, an NPC in this tavern,
Nigel,
could kind of give them that information or point them in the right direction. It's a fail-safe tavern, which is something I've kind of stolen from Baldur's Gate 3. In Baldur's Gate 3, if you kill or if a really important NPC dies before they can give you an important item or take you to the next area or give you a quest that is needed to complete the game, then a second NPC shows up as a fail-safe. failsafe, and they then send you on your way. But then if you kill that second NPC before they send you on your way, a third NPC shows up, and if that third NPC dies, then you get like a cutscene that forces the players to do the thing that the game needs them to do. But I just really love this idea, and it's something I've been putting into my games more and more often. If you need to give the players really important information, or if you need them to see something or find something, have a failsafe location or NPC or encounter that will show up at the end of the session and give it to them if they've somehow avoided it so far. That's what this whole tavern is that I created in this third hour of prep. And even though it's unlikely the players will ever go there, I can reuse this or parts of it, Nigel, in the future elsewhere. Step 9. Create a new encounter designed to appeal specifically to one player, or alter an existing encounter to relate to the goals and motivations of that player's character. Over the course of several sessions, do this for all your players and their characters. So this one's kind of annoying because I've kind of been doing this while I've been building up the other encounters this session. Every encounter I made was tied some way or somehow into my players or their players' characters. I was honestly also just tired of prepping at this point. I don't know how anyone really preps for 3 hours. Maybe you're not supposed to do it all in one go. So I kind of decided here that I would just ask my players at the start of the session if they would like to know any NPCs in this town. I could create an NPC with them right there and then, and I could place them in the tavern that I created. And I could have a cool moment where I could really put that player character in the world and push their story forwards. Then in the actual session, I forgot to do that anyway. Yeah. What can you do? As you can see, I finished my prep in plenty of time. And I have to say, the Dungeon Master's Guide prep guidelines are actually pretty good. At least the stuff in the first hour anyway. And I don't think I would ever really prep for the full 3 hours, but for new DMs or DMs who like prepping or don't want to improvise anything, pretty decent. Just having a step-by-step guide to keep you on track.
And for anyone wondering about how I prep normally, I'll let Streamphil tell you all about it. Take it away, Streamphil.
My prep kind of changes depending on how much motivation I have to prep and how much time I have, obviously. But normally when I prep, I like to think of it as canon events. I'd like to have like 4 things maybe that are going to happen. And that could be the characters meet an NPC, or the characters get a piece of information that is very important to them, or the characters get into an encounter where they could fight, or they are like threatened by a monster of some kind, and I'll plan the monster out, or some like the villain does something big. And these are like canon events, and these probably won't change. I will change them if it's like, you know, obvious that it shouldn't happen anymore. But these are like canon events that will happen, and I don't know when, and I don't know where. Like the players could run into that particular NPC in the NPC's shop, out on the street, in the tavern, out walking. I can like force that interaction whenever I want, whenever I like it feels natural. Same with where they get this information from. If they're going to get an important piece of information, it could be from the Thieves Guild. It could be from the shopkeep, the tavern, anywhere, and I can just place it in there. And I find that really easy to do because I know what needs to happen, but I'm letting my players kind of drive the story.
The real question is, how does all this prep time affect my game? So I jumped on a call with one of my players and my wife to find out just what they thought of it.
Hello?
Hey, yeah, I've just got one quick question for you. What was the last session of D&D like? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was okay.
Okay, thanks.